I am your host, MISHUMA SABA, M.SABA, and this is our Cultural Variety Podcast. Stay tuned. Peace, 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 peace. And welcome to the Coffee Talk Podcast. This is the Cultural Variety Podcast Show. And I am your host, MISHUMA SABA, M.SABA. And this is the Cultural Variety Podcast Show. How y'all doing today? Good. I'm happy to be here. Listen, let me know if you hear an echo. Go ahead and send me a comment if the echo is up too high. All right. But other than that, welcome to the show, Coffee Talk. We are a cultural variety podcast show, as I have just stated. We appear 3 days a week, Mondays, Wednesdays, and either Friday or Saturday. But this past week, we've been going through that little locked out platform stuff. You know, no need to mention the platform's name. So it kind of stagnated us to miss a day. So we did miss Wednesday. And then Friday and Saturday, we decided to go ahead and do the show tonight, which is Sunday. So again, we appear 3 days a week. Monday nights is what we call cultural studies on Monday nights. But go ahead tonight, we're going to go ahead and do this tonight for Sunday. Sunday, we're going to go ahead and give you this book reading, which is today. So, but on Monday nights, we call it cultural studies. Cultural studies, we'll either do a book reading or we'll go ahead and just give respect and honors to our scholars, our lawyers, our doctors, our people, our ancestors. So basically, it's just cultural. You know, that's what we do on Mondays. On Wednesdays, we have our sports edition. And so we give you a different look. We don't really care about who wins in sports, and we're not like no other sports outlet that really caters to that. But what we do is we like to give you a different aspect from the athletes and what they have to deal with. So we do that on Wednesday nights. That's our Wednesday night sports edition. And then again, on the weekends, we like to have fun, which is grown folks night. So, all right. Thank you for staying with me through all that mumbo jumbo. But yeah, we got a great show tonight. We're going to go ahead and do a reading out the book called The Black Gods by author Dr. Supreme Understanding. Great guy, and he has this book out called The Black Gods. I'll put it up. And it's an introduction to the world's religions and their black gods. So we're going to definitely be talking about a few short stories in here that is called The Black Gods of Japan. So that's what our show is for tonight. Again, thank you for tuning in to Coffee Talk Podcast, the Cultural Variety Podcast Show. And if this is your first time appearing on our show, you know how we do. We never start a show without giving it its flavor. Again, this is a cultural show, a cultural variety show. We love our people here, and we always got to add the flavor to our coffee. You know what I'm saying? So tonight's flavor is Nigeria coffee. Nigeria coffee is a large producer of coffee in Africa. It is widely consumed by many people across the globe. It is produced in such cities as Kawara, such states as Kawara, Buchi, and Osan. The top coffee there is called Nescafe. This brand is well known, and it dominates over 65% of the market share of coffee in Nigeria. So again, tonight's flavor is the Nigeria coffee, and that brand over there is Nescafe. So definitely check that out. And today's words of wisdom, the wise words that we always give you here at Coffee Talk Podcast, the flavor is this: to recreate yourself, you must come with grips come with the grips of how you're being treated. So I'm gonna say that again because I'm actually reading that part off the script. And so to recreate yourself, you must come to grips with how you're being treated. Somebody say, "Oh, you're reading it off a script." Well, I'm the writer, so I can fumble a little bit, right? No, our cast here, our audience here, our viewers, our supporters, we are all supportive. This is a hip hop intellectual show, again, and it caters to our culture. So yeah, happy to have you here. How are y'all doing this evening on this Sunday night, April 24th? How was your day today? I know you're probably starting to settle down and you're looking for something to listen to. So you decide you want to go ahead and turn on the podcast shows. And, you've been following us and we're happy to have you. And you know how it is. Once you come on in, pour yourself a cappuccino, pour yourself some coffee, pour yourself a smoothie, pour yourself some wine, or pour yourself some water. But come on in, kick your feet up, and have a good time. All right, so let's go ahead and dive on in. Again, the story for tonight is The Black Gods of Japan. This is a book by author Dr. Supreme Understanding. All right, so let's go ahead and talk about it. The Black Gods of Japan. In the 1500s, few Europeans had explored Japan, much less written about it to tell others. In 1602, Marcello di Robazzino published one of the first European accounts of Japanese religion and culture. The Black Gods, Amida and Zaka, as we might expect, Rabanera's account is hostile and shallow. What's notable, however, is that he calls the Japanese an idol-loving people who worship a large number of gods, the most important of which are Amida and the Black God Zaka. Rabanera says both gods were once men, perhaps rulers of kingdoms. He is partly right. Zaka refers to the Shakyamuni Buddha, which is widely considered the supreme Buddha in most schools of Buddhism. Amida also refers to a Buddha, Amitabha Buddha, the principal figure of the Pure Land sect, a branch of Buddhism popular in Japan. Amitabha is also recognized in other sects of Buddhism. Most traditions trace him back to the monk Dhammakarma, who studied and became a Buddhista and eventually a Buddha. Rabanera discusses the significance of the Buddhist priests and nuns who led these sects, but their theology is clearly different from the traditions of the West. He says their sects emphasize mediation and the discipline of the mind and will, rather than prayer submission. Heaven, he reports, is an interior peace, while hell is equity, anxiety due to undisciplined mind and will, and a heart full of desires affected by mood-dense cares. Have you heard that in the past, people? Have you heard that your heaven is your high point and your hell is your lowest point? Shakyamuni Buddha is discussing this here. Let's continue. It would make sense that when Buddha was imported to Japan, he was still revived as black. However, Buddhism was only introduced to Japan around 538 AD. What about before then? As it turns out, Japan had and still has other black gods. What do y'all think of that? It's definitely beautiful history. And yes, Japan has black gods. These are not fable stories for the most part. What is your thoughts? Let's go on to the next black god. As tonight we discuss the Black Gods of Japan out of the book, The Black God by author Dr. Supreme Understanding. Dakuku, the black god of riches. W. Cook reports, among other black gods, may be named the Japanese Daduku, the great black one, who is a god of riches. Daguku, also known as Dakuku, is the Japanese god of wealth and good fortune. He is one of the 7 lucky gods, or kami, of Shintoism, the ancient religion of Japan. He was probably based on the Hindu god of battle, Mahakala. Maha means great, and Kala means black. Mahakala was a black warrior, sometimes portrayed as an attendant of the high god Shiva, but sometimes as another personality of Shiva himself. As an attendant of Shiva, he is often represented outside the main doorway of early North Indian temples. As Shiva himself, his blackness represents both the absorption and absence of all colors. So he signifies the ultimate or the absolute reality. This principle is known as Sanskrit or Naguna, or being beyond all quality and form. Mahakala is a Dharmapala, a protector of Dharma. In Vajrayana Buddhism, and a deity in Chinese and Japanese Buddhism. He is also known as the dietitian in Chinese and Dakukuten in Japanese. Both names translate to the great black god. Mahakala started out as a black warrior, but was soon associated with good fortune and farming. According to the Sukha Gakki Dictionary of Buddhism, the Japanese name Dakuku Ten means the great black god, and he was usually painted as a black figure with a furious expression, I Ching between 635 through 713, says the record of the southern countries. A record of his travels in India that an image of Makahala was installed in the kitchens of the temples in India, and that it carried a bag of gold in its hand, indicating the power to bestow good fortune. Dakuku was introduced in this form to China and Japan, where he became an object of popular belief, evolving from a kitchen deity to the god of rice and rice fields. In the Indo period from 1600 to 1867 in Japan, Dakuku was depicted in painting and sculpture from a happy expression and widely worshipped together with Abisu, who was also a god of wealth and one of the 7 beneficent deities. In other words, Dakuku was once a fierce black warrior god, sometimes associated with farming and the success of one's rice crops. By the 17th century, Dakuku was widely known as the happy-looking, pudgy, good luck god of farmers' food and good fortune. Bishaman, the black warrior. Bishaman is another one of the 7 good kami. His name means the black warrior. Bishaman, sometimes known as Bishamunten or Tamanten, is one of the guardian kings of the 4 quarters. The color black is also associated with the northern quarter of the compass in which he watches over. The statue of Bishama. In China and Japan, he is considered the Buddhicized version of the black-skinned Hindu god Kubriba. The latter is worshipped in India as the Lord of the North, wealth, and treasure, and his name is rendered variously in Kuvira, Chamhala, and Visvanva, and he was said to be the son of the Indian sage Vishavra. As one of Japanese 7 lucky gods, he often appears friendly and jolly, as do all members of the 7. But he was originally the Hindu god of wealth and buried treasure. Kubara is sometimes considered the king of Yaksha, powerful earth deities who guard the world's wealth, such as gold and silver. So what do you think about these stories on the Black Gods tonight? They are very intriguing. Great story. See, one of the things we do also on what we call cultural nights, and tonight being Sunday, we're giving you a little bit of that tonight, is that we do book readings or story readings, I should say. We implemented this idea because in our youth, we used to have a show that used to come out called The Reading Rainbow. It was a great show for small children. It encouraged kids, it encouraged kids and people to read. And at this day and time, it's much needed. The more you read, the more words you read, you build a better vocabulary. With a better vocabulary, you can become a better writer for whatever you do that requires writing, typing, texting, whatever. You'll be a better communicator with more words that you add on, that you practice daily. That is what that show inspired. And that is what encouraged us to add that antidote to create this great show, this great podcast called Coffee Talk Podcast. And so tonight we're giving you these readings of the Black Gods. May you have enjoyed the first two stories. And we got only 2 pages left. If you'd like to go ahead and hit the like button, the share button to further tell people about our show, Coffee Talk. Again, this is the Coffee Talk Podcast show. We are a cultural variety podcast show which airs 3 days a week. Check us out in all formats. Either we're going to be doing studies, poems, whatever on Mondays. Wednesdays, we're going to be in our sports edition. And then on the weekends, Friday and Saturdays, a grown folks edition, which is funny and knowledgeable. You know how it is. All right, so let's continue. Fudumayo O, the Supreme Guardian. Fudumayo O, the Supreme Guardian. Fudumayo O is one of the most popular deities of Japan and the most commonly depicted of the heavenly kings. Fudumayo, whose name means immovable, is considered the supreme barrier against evil and a subdue of forces hostile to Buddhist law. According to the Handbook of Japanese Mythology, Fudu is portrayed carving a sword and a rope to bind evildoers. His body is usually black or blue. His eyes are staring, and his facial expression is fierce. Fudu stands or sits cross-legged on a rock, signifying his immobility and steadfastness, and is surrounded by flames. This chapter may have been imported from India, where he would have arrived after originally being worshipped in the Near East Caucasus area. Again, that god is called Fudumayo, the Supreme Guardian. The Kamu of the Anu are the indigenous people of Japan. They look like they were once related to the Aboriginal people of Australia, but those groups have long been separated. And in the book, When the World Was Black, also written by author Dr. Supreme Understanding, you can see how these people were once dark-skinned and frizzy-haired with strong Australoid features. But nowadays, these features are muted. These people first settled Japan tens of thousands of years ago. Their religious traditions have surprisingly remained quite stable and are a lot like other communities who have been around for more than 10,000 years. That is, they use, for the most part, let me back up here. That is, they use mythology to describe the elements of nature, which indigenous people often understand very accurately. but don't have many personal gods. The elemental forces of the Anu are known as Kamu. Tokyo Dagaku has written, the category of supernatural beings that receive the greatest emphasis among the Anu is the Kamu. Except for the Anu cultural hero and Kamu, all Kamu are spirits of natural phenomena. In the supernatural world, Kamu take the form of Anus. They have families, settlements, and even headmen. They may visit the land of the Anu. And this is about our last page of tonight's topic, Stories of the Black Gods of Japan, by author Dr. Supreme Understanding, in this great book here that you can find at Supreme Understanding online.com, or you can also get this through Amazon. Again, we give free promotion to our people because we love to read. And so you may find that here on Mondays, our cultural study nights. Again, we always give props to our authors, our ancestors, our people, our culture, and everything about our culture. So tonight we're doing this reading on the Black Gods here at Coffee Talk Podcast. And Auna Kamu, the teacher. For the most part, these Kamu were understood to represent natural forces. That is, as noted in the quote above, with the exception of the teacher god, the Anu Kamu, who is regarded as the founder of Anu culture. He is the one who came along the Anu to teach them the arts, the agriculture, the ceramics, to home building. What did he look like? Unfortunately, the Anu, like most other indigenous people of similar age, typically didn't make representative art. Like the Andaman Islanders and the Australian Aborigines, most of their art was figurative and abstract. That is, geometric designs and carvings. But there might be a clue in the god's name. The lone human god of the Anu was also known as Anu Raku, or Akuku Rami. In Anu and in Japanese, the words kur and karu mean dark or black. Black is found in both names. The popular name of the two, Anu Raku, is especially notable because it roughly translates to Black Man God. Black demons. Across the rural communities in Japan, there are legends describing black demons inhabiting the hillsides and mountains where the Anu and other indigenous populations once lived. Although later populations came to fear these beings, such as the Tengu, it's likely that these myths were originally based on native black populations. They may actually refer to the little black people who came to Japan even before the Anu. Such people had been forced into isolation in these areas when foreign populations took over. If and when people saw black people leaving the mountainsides, they must have been frightened, having never seen black-skinned people before. Do these myths have anything in common with the legends associated with the little black people of China, like the Moli? What about the myths we discussed in Northern Europe? So those are our readings on a few of the Black God characters, stories, mythologies. And I'd like for you to go ahead and comment. Did any of those stories resonate anything within you? Are you interested in reading more? Where can you get these type of books from? Again, you can support all black businesses, black bookstores all throughout the country. Yes, you can go on Google and Google those locations, but make sure the money goes into their hands. Continue to support authors such as Dr. Supreme Understanding and his great book that we read tonight called The Black Gods, an introduction to the world's religion and their black gods. We also like to thank you for continuing to support our show here, which is Coffee Talk Podcast with your host, MISHUMA SABA. Again, we are a cultural variety podcast show, and we appear 3 days a week. So if this is your first time watching, make sure you come next time to enjoy the flavor, enjoy the show, enjoy the time, and enjoy the podcast. This again is your host, MISHUMA SABA, M.Saba, and this is our Cultural Variety Podcast show. I'm going to go ahead and hit you up with the universal peace sign, and I'm going to say peace, and thank you for supporting the show. You continue on. Peace and love.